From across the globe, the Unborn Radio is bringing you the sounds you want to hear.
Welcome to today's podcast, where we have the founder of the club, Stan, one of the last founders of the club. Stan, would you be able to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course, thanks. Like you said, my name is Stan. My PSN is the Hummel 5. I'm from the Netherlands. And I'm one of the founders of the club and the current club's general.
Who are the other founders of the club?
We have Wardog there. He was our first member to join. We have Luke, who is the co-founder. So we founded it with the two of us, and Luke was our first guy to join. Wardog was our first guy to join. And we have this fourth guy, and I've been thinking the entire week about what his name was, because I knew you were going to ask that. And of course it slipped my mind. It's an Argentinian guy, and he didn't even speak English, but I'll get back to that later. That's the four of us.
Well, yeah, so we'll call him Beep for now, or X for now.
Argentinian,
We won't give him a name. Yeah, so then what I was going to follow up with that was, as a founder, where or what was your vision, the goal of the club? Or as collectively, what was the vision?
Yeah, good question. At the beginning, I just wanted the club for active members, to ride around and have fun with. I was part of some Lost MC, and it was messy, it was just a patch, and everybody shoot each other, and it was just messy, and I was a bit tired of that, so I just wanted the club to have fun with. And at that point, I wouldn't say I really had a great vision, like some great visionaire or something, but I wouldn't have even hoped that it became this big and this professional and this active after all these years.
Yeah, it's obviously we have a lot of members, and we got very big at one point, like almost too big, you could say. In your opinion, how did that affect the club?
You mean
PS3 days, when there's some free aim, there's some people, there's lots of different people, and they all want different things.
I got a bit of mixed feelings about that time, because on one hand it was very we learned a lot from it. We learned a lot about from our mistakes. On the other hand, it's I think the time I have the biggest regret about, because we had a lot of members there who were there for other reasons. So we had a lot of members who wanted to do team deathmatches. We had guys who wanted to roleplay hardcore. We had guys who just wanted to have fun and ride a bike. And we had a lot of people coming and going, and it was just too much of a hassle and too many different cultures in the club. And on the long term, it affected the club well, because we learned a lot from it, and the right people got their lessons there, and so did I. And on the other hand, it was pretty messy, and it's also impressive that you can say, well, we had a club with 100 members who were patched and 160 prospects, but it wasn't what I wanted from the club at that point.
Yeah, so for a while it was very heavily pushed towards quantity. Everyone was popping up, and everyone was nearly going, oh yeah, come on in, or whatever.
You could say that. And back then we had a system which was Herb mentioned it in his podcast, in his episode. We had a system where if you had two members vouching for you, you would be patched in. So if, let's say, you vouched for a prospect and I did, then we would let him in, and you would be responsible in the first few weeks for his behavior. And with 80 members or 100 members, you will get people in there who you don't know really well, and they were vouching for other people who they know well, and it became you lost control over who was joining and you lost control of who was joining, and therefore you lost control of your culture.
Yeah, so after all that, obviously, because you were afraid you would lose a bit of everything, really, did you just close up shop, or was that just so happened the time to be PS4 and people were switching over, or how did it just cut down?
Yeah, well, it got cut down naturally. I mean, a few of us, yourself, Lee, Danny, those guys, they stick together. They had chapters together who were very stable. But we also had chapters who were just devoted to team deathmatch and shit like that. And when we started to enforce the rules more closely and say, okay, this is where we're going to focus on. We're going to do missions. We're going to do auto aim, and we're going to do events. Then the people who weren't into that just got weeded out,
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes it happened with like 10 people at once who just walked away, and sometimes it just happened with one leaving or another leaving, and we just got more picky at the door. Let's say that way. Like we didn't let every prospect in.
Wasn't an open door policy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We changed those policies back then.
Which is definitely for the best. I mean, from my opinion, it's always quality than quantity. You don't need 100 members. You need absolute brothers beside you all the time, and people that have your back.
Exactly. And if you ask me, you don't even need 40 members or 60.
No.
The only thing you need is just a full session if you around the time you like to play. So if you got like a crew with 10 people and all 10 like to play at a Thursday night, well, yeah, you got yourself a great crew. And some clubs need more members because, you like to be flexible with what times you play and things like that. But yeah, like you say, it's not in the numbers; it's in the quality.
Yeah, exactly. Would you be able to tell me a bit about the early days of the club? Where did the concept of the patch come? Why maybe skulls and wings and kind of the daily life in the club?
You mean like the early years?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. The name is pretty funny because, I just wanted something that me and Luke both, by the way, Luke, the co-founder, we wanted something original. I mean, how many crews are called Reapers X or the Sons of
or Grimm
Y?
or yeah.
Grimm. That's just one of a dozen, and we wanted something unique. And well, who calls the club the Unborn? Yeah, no one. So that's why we picked the name. And also, why the skull and wings? Yeah, I don't know. Just our first design was a skull and wings, and after that we always kept those two things in. And I think you were one of the guys who designed Dispatch.
I did this one. Yeah, I did this one, and I did the one before, the blue and yellow one as well, when we had colours.
And the only thing we wanted to keep in because it became part of our identity were the wings and the skull. We got 6 years of history, so the beginning could be 2 years in started, but let's just focus on the first few months. I think the key word there is messy. We had a treasurer, the fourth founding member, who didn't even speak English. Almost no one had a microphone back then. Everything went by text. It was less it was harder to coordinate. You only had 3 bikes to choose at, so a bagger, a hexer, and the bike from the Lost, which
the Damon.
The Damon, exactly. Yeah. And you only had leather jackets to put your patch on, so you had less options, and it was just as much fun as now, but back then we needed less, and it was more communication needed to just ride around the map. I mean, how are you going to explain to people the routing? What we did was I set a waypoint, and then I had to sit at the back of everybody's bike, so that way they got the same waypoint, instead of just saying by microphone we're driving up to Del Piero or whatever. It was a hassle. Let's say that way.
Jesus, yeah, that is actually old school days, harder times.
Yeah, harder times, you could say that, and also fun times, and we started to become, in the beginning it was very informal. Everybody could just walk in. We were an open crew, and I had a very clear vision on that. I wanted 20 members, because back then, I don't know, I just picked a number and at that point I promised myself then we have to close off the crew and start prospecting and starting to weed out the bad persons, because otherwise I would be afraid that if we started with prospecting and weeding out people in the beginning, it would be very, very hard to get a collective crew together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think Nick, one of our presidents and one of our members who did a lot for the club, who isn't here anymore, is the first guy who had to prospect.
Okay, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah. A little fun fact there.
How long was he prospecting for?
I couldn't tell. Could be a few weeks, could be a few days.
Yeah.
Back then you didn't have to prospect as long as you do now. I mean, I remember Herb, because he only prospected a day. Why? Because he had 2 members vouching for him. So like I said, the system was totally different back then.
Yeah. I think I was just at the end of that system as well. So yeah, it wasn't too long ago, but it had its flaws, and yeah.
Yeah, I think it got changed with PS4, and I think that's one of the changes Lee brought up, which is a good change, because this way it's harder to get in, which makes the patch more valuable. You know, the patch is only as valuable as we make it, and that's one of the changes I really like that we did that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Would you say there's an end goal for the club?
I don't think there's an end goal. You know, I think that if we started back in the day with an end goal, then we wouldn't be here anymore, because the end goal was already reached, and that's it. I mean, the goal is just to have fun with each other and build a brotherhood and enjoy our time on GTA. And it's not really that I got an end goal. No. Not that I can think of.
How do you feel about being the only founder member left?
Got a bit mixed feelings about it, because to be honest, the Argentinian guy, it was more of a hassle to keep him with the crew than that we really enjoyed him being there. Why? Because it was hard to communicate with him, and he just did his own thing. Wardock I do miss, because he was a great guy, not the best president or officer, but he was a good member, always loyal, always doing best for the club. So it's a shame that he started playing less and less and had to quit.
Yeah.
And Luke, that's an all different story. He fucked up, tried to screw over the club. So I can miss him. So it would be awesome if there were still other founding members here, but I get that after 6 years, that would be.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. It is.
What does your role entail in the club now versus what you did then, and what did it change of? At the moment I'm the general of the club, which is a role that Lee created for me, and the other main members in council created for me. For people who aren't part of the club, we got this council, which is 4 members, which is the vice presidents, the presidents, and me, the general. The council decides on big decisions, or decisions that are going about chapter versus chapter or whatever. And general pretty much means that I'm like a president or a vice president without a chapter. I hold the same powers, but which makes me the 5th vote in council as well. And it means that I'm not directly controlling any chapters or got any chapters directly under my control. I'm also not a part of a chapter. I'm a nomad, and my role is pretty much to, if there is something happening or if there's a big issue that needs to be discussed, and I'm always involved. But I'm not so much involved anymore in the day-to-day business and the day-to-day events and things like that. I mean, other people are doing that now. Back in the day, it was pretty much Wardock was mostly on GTA, running things and day-to-day things and doing events, but all the website and recruiting and things like that, and all the administrative things, there were things I did back in the day. And slowly more jobs or more tasks came available for the officers, but in the beginning I did everything, and that pretty much started turning into a day job, until the point I even was working more on the administration and answering messages and shit like that than really playing, which I lost my enjoyment in doing administration. I mean, nobody likes to do that. So I'm really glad how things evolved and how the officers took more tasks of me, starting to professionalize those tasks and starting to brought the club at the point where it is now. And with that, my role changed, which I enjoy. That's true. So obviously you couldn't do everything on your own, and
exactly. And by doing everything on your own, you will also do it on another level. You know, if I try to get an event together, we just I sent everybody a message. At this time, we're doing an event, and we try to come up with something at that point, or we just did something random, or we just did some cage fighting or whatever. If you look at the events now that you are putting together, well, that's an all other level. You know, you're making posters, you really organizing things, and trying to get a hold of how many people are coming. That's not comparable at the level that we were back then and at the level that we are now. And
they were early days, though.
Yeah, it were the early days, but it also comes with more manpower, more people with more ideas, with more visions on things, and who are willing to put time in it. And you can only do as much as in the beginning when you are with very little people. And now we are at it's totally different and better, if you ask me, of course.
Yeah, obviously you've taken a step back due to real life, and also because you were overwhelmed by the amount of work as well.
Exactly.
Would you say it was hard to take that step back to where you are now?
Yeah, it was, and Lee said it before. I think one of the big reasons the club continued is because you were willing to take a step back, and I always took that as a compliment, because a lot of people, when they found a club, they want to be the big boss and want to be the president all the time. And I never felt that way. I always felt that it would be better to just continue the club with other people in the higher ranks. So with Nick at that point and all the other guys it was their time to take it over. And I'm happy that they gave me the option to stay involved in the big club decisions as a founder. But I'm also happy that they took up the gavel and started to act like officers and presidents, and pretty much that.
Yeah, so kind of mixed feelings on it.
Oh yeah, that was your original question, how I feel about it. Yeah, happy with it. I'm very comfortable with the current position, and I would like to play more, more have more fun with the guys and just hang out. But it's awesome that other people picked up where I had to step down.
Yeah. Do you have an inspiration in the club?
Yeah. In which way? You mean like somebody who inspires me? Or?
Somebody who inspires you, yeah.
Good question. I think I take inspiration from pretty much not every member, but most members. I mean, I find guys who have been here for years and always did their best for the club and do one thing where they're good at, or multiple things that they're good at. I really take a lot of inspiration from them. I mean, take a Herb, take a Bama, a Lee, take yourself, Danny, those guys. But I also really enjoy if we got like a new member who stands up and joins us and immediately has his own opinion, isn't afraid to voice it, isn't afraid to go against the stream, isn't afraid to speak up against officers with a respectful manner, of course. But I take a lot of inspiration and respect for those guys who are just willing to out.
Yeah, obviously it's good to voice your own opinions. It's nearly better to be voicing your own opinion, just follow the sheep all the time. It's just how you do it, though.
Exactly, those members wouldn't bring us any further. And a while back, that Sharkman joined, but it's a good example of it. When he joined, he immediately started to question some things that we were doing for years.
Yeah.
And those people bring your club further because they make you think about your processes, about your club as a whole, about things that you do, if they are still good or not. And that's what I really respect, if somebody has the guts to do that.
Well, sometimes it takes people just looking on the outside in, because we're in this fixed way and we're in this kind of like a bubble, so we do this all the time and we just think that's the best way, and sometimes it takes someone on the outside to go, why are you doing that, or is this way not better? And I think there is definitely a lot of members that have that insight, which is actually really, really good for the club.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a two-way street though, because it takes those members to do that, but it also takes the right officers to let that happen, because a lot of people will get angry if people go against them, and we have the type of guys in the officer positions who aren't afraid to take some critiques or some advice.
Yeah, exactly. The club was free aim and auto aim at one point. What is your stance on the whole auto aim versus free aim, and why did we make the decision to be auto aim?
Yeah, good one. We were auto aim at the beginning, and we became free aim at some point because the TDM crews and a lot of people wanted to try it, so we voted on it and we became free aim. After that we went back to auto aim, and a lot of people say auto aim isn't 1%. Yeah, I don't see that connection at all. I mean, between following the 1% rules and using auto aim, there's no connection if you ask me. I think auto aim is a better option for a few reasons. I think there's less fighting in the maps.
Oh yeah.
You know, with less aggressive people, less people who are just playing Call of Duty pretty much. I also think that the other crews are not focused on free aim, which frees up a lot of people who want to join an MC who's 1% for us who are in auto aim. And also, last but not least, I'm a very terrible shooter in GTA. So I'm very happy to use auto aim, and this is the only chance I get to ever shoot someone. Otherwise, I would be shot the entire time and can't shoot back. And just for the record, I'm a terrible shooter in GTA. I want on the record that I'm not a terrible shooter in Red Dead Redemption, though.
Obviously, we brought up the Argentinian founder earlier on.
Yeah.
The Beast. How did you feel when the Beast went against you and finally getting your redemption?
If you're looking for an MC, please check out www.theunbornmc.com for more information.